This is probably the best topic that is splitting the player base apart this format, and for a pretty good reason. My goal today isn't really to find a clear winner or to explain my own personal opinion too much. It is really just to shed light on both pros and cons of both board breakers and hand shops respectively. First of all, I would like to clarify and explain the fact that this is one of the first formats that we've had in a while where people actually have the luxury of kind of deciding whether they want to play hand shops or board breakers, because for the most part, the past previous formats, we kind of had no choice but to main deck hand shops and then also add board breakers to it if we wanted to, or just play pure hand shops, because we couldn't really afford to get hit by something like an artifact scythe that was resolving on standby phase, because Dark Ruler would be doing nothing. And Dark Ruler was pretty garbage against Despia and not that good against Sword Soul, even though it could have been decent. They still had a hand shops and blackout. It was still preferable to play hand shops again. But things have changed, so now board breakers are really broken against Blight, and they're alright against tier elements, but not super great. Hand shops, on the other hand, can definitely catch people off guard, especially since most people right now are playing board breakers. Now, one thing that board breakers do not really deal with very well are decks that can turbo out Floodgate. So for example, let's just say you're playing Danger tier elements, you go for Curious, you send any Floodgate, like let's say Anti-Spell Fragrance, and then you go Griffin, set it back, and your opponent draws into Dark Ruler or already had it. The Dark Ruler would be doing absolutely nothing because the Floodgate was turboed out, and a hand shop would have been a potential solution to that, but unfortunately, you had to draw the card that is now irrelevant. However, when board breakers are good, they're very, very good. Dark Ruler is basically an imperm on crack that can take care of like 6 monsters in one shot. It doesn't target, it's not once per turn, and it can't even be negated by monster effects directly to it, so your opponent would require something like a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss and like a Speller Trap that he can chain to, which is ridiculously unfair. And again, because of the fact that it's not once per turn, if your opponent has Solemn Judgment and negates the first copy, you can just resolve the second copy, and your opponent basically had to give up on 4k life points and a very powerful card, and is down to like 0 negates now. Now, the fact that you can't OTK is kind of a bummer, but at the same time, if you can break the full board and then make your own board with a bunch of interruptions, it's not going to be that bad. Super Poly is also very nice. It's a big board breaker, and at the same time, it's kind of also an extender because it can summon Garura, which can be used as a Synchro or Link Material, whatever, as well as drawing you one card to kind of unbreak your hand even more. So you're using Super Poly and a discard, so 2 cards to summon a monster that refunds itself back, so you go break even while your opponent goes neck 2. Pretty nice trade, right? And again, it's not once per turn, it covers so much ground, and it can still be used as an interruption on your opponent's turn because it is a quick play spell card. The best thing about board breakers is that you can draw them for turn and still have full value because they don't necessarily have to be in your opening hand to do anything. You really are just using them on your own turn anyways. It really isn't like hand shops where you're typically just always using them on your opponent's turn. So when you draw a hand shop for turn, you're kind of a little upset. Obviously, there are some exceptions like Imperm that you can use right away, just like a Forbidden Chalice. And Gamma could also be a nice top deck for turn sometimes if your opponent is playing, let's say, a Cyber's deck and using the effect of Deco Talk or Heat Soul. On standby, you top deck Gamma, you can use it, and then summon Chaos Ruler or whatever. Now, if you're only drawing one utility card, you want it to be a board breaker and not a hand shop, because hand shops can be dealt with Call by the Grave or Triple Tactic Talents, whereas board breakers, it really is way harder because you only really need one to break the full thing, whereas hand shops, typically, they're not that great. If you're only drawing one, you typically want to draw 2 hand shops for optimal value. But yeah, whichever board breaker or hand shop you want to play in your deck also depends on the deck that you're playing. So for example, if you're playing a Cyber's deck that can run Deco Talk or Heat Soul, you would want to play hand shops because you can draw a bunch of cards on your turn and on your opponent's turn. And if you're playing a deck like Danger Tier Elements, for example, you want to play board breakers because you can draw into your board breakers on your own turn off of the dangers, and drawing into hand shops would be complete garbage. But drawing into Dark Ruler is very juicy. But anyways, what do you think about this debate? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.